There was no barrier. There never was. What killed pilots and haunted a decade of engineers wasn't a wall in the sky. It was a control problem. And it had an answer. Start with what everyone believed, because they had their reasons. Through the early 1940s, pilots diving high-performance fighters felt something turn against them near the speed of sound. The controls would freeze. The nose would tuck under. The airframe would shake like it wanted to come apart. And some of them did come apart. Men died in those dives, and the wreckage never explained itself cleanly. So the phrase took hold. The sound barrier, as if the air had a hard edge waiting at Mach 1, and cross it, you'd be torn to pieces. Good story, wrong one. Worth pausing on the numbers, because speed had been climbing fast. By 1931, racing seaplanes were already past 400 miles per hour. By 1939, the top airspeed record over a 3-kilometer course stood at 469 miles per hour, set by the Messerschmitt Me 209. Mach 1 at sea level is roughly 767 miles per hour. The gap was closing. Nobody knew what was waiting at the top of it. So in March 1945, the U.S. Army Air Forces contracted Bell Aircraft and NACA to build an airplane meant to fly straight through the transonic region and out the other side. They called it the X-1, later just the X-1. Look at the shape they picked. The fuselage was modeled on a .50 caliber bullet, a form the ballisticians already knew stayed stable well past the speed of sound. If a bullet could do it, the thinking went, so could an airplane built like one. It was rocket-powered. Here's the practical problem. Loaded with propellant, the X-1 couldn't take off under its own power. The engine burned too fast to waste any of it climbing, so they carried it up. The X-1 rode inside the bomb bay of a modified Boeing B-29 Superfortress, hauled to about 25,000 feet before release. One small detail in the record is easy to miss. The underside of that B-29 was painted black. Not for menace, for glare. It gave the X-1 pilot a dark reference to judge his position as he dropped away. The man who flew it was Air Force Captain Charles E. Yeager. And here the story turns human in a way the engineering can't cover. Days before the record flight, Yeager was thrown from a horse and broke 2 ribs. He knew that if he reported it, they'd ground him. So he didn't. He had a length of broom handle rigged just to lock the cockpit door. He couldn't reach across to pull it shut himself. Now the real problem. The one that made the barrier feel real. As the X-1 pushed into the transonic range, shock waves formed over the tail and blanketed the elevator. The hinged surface Yeager used to control pitch. The stick went dead in his hand. This is where the story flips. The answer wasn't more power, and it wasn't more nerve. It was already sitting in the design. The X-1 had a movable, horizontal stabilizer. The entire tailplane could pivot, not just the hinged elevator behind it. When the elevator drowned in shock waves, Yeager trimmed the whole stabilizer instead. The whole surface moved, and it moved outside the dead zone. Pitch control came back. That's the answer to the barrier. Not brute force, a tailplane that could still bite the air when the elevator couldn't. On October 14, 1947, over the California desert, Yeager rode the B-29 up, dropped clear, and lit the rocket. The X-1, named Glamorous Glennis for his wife, climbed and accelerated straight through the region that had killed other men. The needle climbed past Mach 1, roughly 700 miles an hour, about Mach 1.06, and on the ground they heard it. The first sonic boom made by a human being in level flight. The barrier that was supposed to tear him apart simply wasn't there. So here's the better model to carry away. The sound barrier was never a physical wall. It was a set of aerodynamic problems arriving all at once near Mach 1, shock waves, control loss, buffeting, and the fear those problems had earned, honestly. Worth being honest about the edges of the record, too. Some pilots in the 1940s may have flirted with the barrier, maybe even crossed it, in steep dives before 1947. The evidence is contested, and the instruments of the day weren't reliable. What Yeager did was different and provable. Controlled, level, measured, repeatable. The X-1 became the first of a whole lineage. The X-planes, aircraft built purely to find out. What Yeager proved opened the road to supersonic fighters and eventually supersonic airliners. Tom Wolfe would later put that October morning at the center of The Right Stuff. Yeager flew that morning with broken ribs and lived to 97. He died in December 2020. So here's the question I'll leave on the table. Was the sound barrier ever real, or was it only ever a control problem waiting for the right tail? Tell me where you land in the comments. Keep it civil. If you want more like this, subscribe to Wings and Stories. New aviation history several times a week.